He says, I'm 28 and on step 6 of the FU. I will inherit $300,000 soon, and I'm unsure where to put the money. I would like to retire early, so should it be in a taxable account, index funds, or a target retirement account? What do you guys think?
This is exciting.
So it's one, Peter. This is a unique opportunity. A lot of folks don't have a situation where they get to inherit some level of wealth, and so it sounds like you're in a position where you are. It's really interesting, and your question doesn't state this. You say, "Hey, I'm going to inherit $300,000." My immediate first question is, okay, how is that money currently structured? Because most often, when there's an inheritance, you might inherit some checking accounts and savings accounts, or maybe there's a piece of property that got sold. But oftentimes, there are things like IRAs or Roth IRAs that you inherit as a beneficiary, that what you're supposed to do is you're then supposed to open an inherited IRA or an inherited Roth IRA, and you roll the assets into that, and then there are certain required minimum distribution requirements on those assets. I'm going to guess by the question that he's talking about inheriting $300,000 after tax. Because obviously, if you're inheriting anything inside of a tax structure, like a 401k IRA or Roth IRA, it likely makes the most sense to open up an inherited account to put that money in so you can continue either with the tax-deferred growth or the tax-free growth from now for the next 10 years. So I would not think about using any of that money immediately to go cash it out, pay taxes, and do something on. I'd let that money keep rolling. But he poses an interesting question. What does he do with the money that comes to him after tax, that $300,000?
First, Peter, typically inheriting money is after the loss of somebody. So first, we're sorry for the loved one that you've lost, but it's one of those things where I always think about with inheritances. There's a legacy component of this too. Is what a cool thing for somebody's discipline or hard work to kind of pay it forward and give you an additional opportunity for the future. And I think this one even has an extra special sweetness in the fact that you're already at step 6 of the financial order of operations, which everybody knows by the time you get to, or if you haven't, I would invite you to go to moneyguy.com/resources, or if you even want to go a deep dive. And what I'm about to talk about is step 7, hyperaccumulation. I really think that this book puts an exclamation point on what that step is and how to leverage that to the most. But it is one of those things where you're going to be able to hit the 25% savings rate just off of not only your good discipline, but also the little bump that this inheritance is going to give you. But then beyond that, you're going to move into step 7. And that's why I think that, like I said, this is a blessing with a legacy component that you get to move into step 7. And the key thing about hyperaccumulation is that you say, all the other steps were, how do I maximize, keep my life out of the financial ditch and avoid the traps like high interest debt. Step 7 is the first one that says, how are you actually going to, in the long term, use these assets? So this is going to be a great time to pause. You don't have to get in a hurry on this, because that's the other thing I tell people when you inherit money is be very measure twice, cut once. You can be very mindful of making good decisions with this. You said you're retiring early. For me, that does mean like maybe an after-tax account might really be a good thing. But then as you go through your checklist mentally of what the long-term goals, you said early retirement or opportunity to early retire, that is an after-tax. But then you need to think about, are there other lifestyle things that you and your family have talked about to pay it forward with this legacy? Are you going to be moving to a different house, or are you going to change careers because this allows you to have more flexibility and resources? Make sure you're just looking at all of those intermediate goals, meaning in the next 6 to 10 years, 10 years and beyond as long-term goals, and you balance that out. And then you structure your accounts in step 7 to go ahead and start taking action to reflect those goals.
Now, there was one little extra piece at the end of the question. He said, hey, should I consider index funds or target retirement funds? And for those of you that don't know, we love target retirement index funds because all you have to do is decide 2 things. How much can I save, and when do I think I want to retire? And if I think I'm going to retire in the year 2050, I'll select the Target Retirement Index 2050 fund. And right now, it'll be pretty aggressive, heavy on the equities. And then as I move through time, it'll get naturally more conservative. And we say, for most people starting out at the beginning of your financial journey, target retirement funds are a fantastic solution. But once your portfolio hits the asset size to where you are at critical mass, you might be able to benefit not just from a generalized portfolio solution, but it might make sense to move to a more specialized portfolio solution. And so when I hear that you have $300,000 coming your way and you're already in step 6, there's a really good chance that you may be graduating beyond just the target retirement index funds. You might want to think about, how do I design and build a custom allocation specific to my needs, my risk tolerance, my risk timeline, my risk capacity. And what does that look like, especially given there's going to be this large inflow? And then how do I think about allocating into that portfolio? Do I do it all at once, or do I potentially dollar cost average into that allocation over time? These are the kind of things you want to think through as you figure out how to utilize these dollars.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I think index target retirement funds are great in the fact that it helps you with how much can I save, and then the asset allocation and how it changes. What I love about what you said, once you get into larger sums of assets, that tax location is just as valuable as the asset allocation. If you don't know what tax location means, that is just that it's kind of, you asked it in your question, what's the difference between after-tax or taxable brokerage accounts, tax-deferred accounts, and then, of course, those Roth tax-free accounts? They all do things differently and well, and you want to put different investment types to maximize the benefits that each one of those can provide, as well as the liquidity and access. So that's why this is probably a great point. When you come into this type of money, you've only had one chance at having these type of assets, 6 figures, multiple 6 figures on top of your already good discipline and behavior. If your life gets complicated, go find somebody who's done this hundreds of times to help you navigate it and avoid the blind spots and all the traps. And taking the relationship to the next level is probably warranted at that point.